Afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being with us on what is a very important, exciting, and historic day for all of us in the Hornets family. I'm Joel Myers from the Hornets and Fox Sports New Orleans. And on behalf of the Benson family, we'd like to announce at the conclusion of the current campaign, the franchise is going to be changing our name to the New Orleans Pelicans. We feel the same way. Thank you. It's a big day. And let's remember that it's a name that speaks to the culture and the resolve of the Gulf Coast, while at the same time it symbolizes the entire organization's commitment to the preservation of one of our region's most critical resources. Now, along with all the different logos and colors that we're going to be showing you, and a short video as well, it's going to offer greater detail, and it's going to be followed by some very special speakers throughout this afternoon. So the moment we have all been waiting for, please turn your attention to the video screens next to the main stage. It is a special day for all of us.
Hornets were well named in Charlotte, but this doesn't carry over to a unique town with such rich history and culture as the Crescent City. Consider the deep Louisiana roots of the Pelican.
The pelican has been used as a state symbol since early statehood, so Louisiana became a state in 1812. The pelican was used on the flag throughout the 19th century, but it wasn't officially adopted as the state seal until 1902. But the early officials of Louisiana saw how charitable the pelican was towards her young and thought that charity would be a great symbol of the state of Louisiana.
It was very important to me and our staff that we changed this name of this club, something that represented New Orleans, Louisiana. And so we worked on it. It wasn't something that just came out of the blue overnight. We worked on it for a long period of time, and you just can't have a better name for Louisiana and New Orleans than the Pelican. It's a perfect representative.
The Pelican has been a symbol of Louisiana since the 1800s, and one of the state's nicknames is the Pelican State. The state flag portrays a mother pelican in a nest with 3 chicks on a field of blue. The Louisiana State Capitol is ordained with pelicans throughout the building, and images of the pelican are ingrained throughout the region.
Well, there are 2 symbols that you see everywhere in New Orleans or Louisiana, and that is the fleur-de-lis or the pelican. And it's an aggressive, beautiful, swift bird, and it's truly been an inspiration for us to find something that epitomizes everything that is powerful and progressive and historic to our community.
The state bird of Louisiana is unique among the world's 7 species of pelicans. The brown pelican is found along the ocean shores and not on inland lakes. It is the only dark pelican, and also the only one that plunges from the air into the water to catch its food. It's a hunter, protector, has speed, precision, and is as unique as the Gulf South region.
The term plunge diving was developed specifically for their form of hunting, and they'll fly above the water and spot their prey, and then they'll immediately plunge headfirst into the water. They'll fold their wings in and go completely submerged underwater, where they'll open their mouth and get a large mouthful that includes their fish.
Just like the Gulf South, the pelican has overcome insurmountable odds to keep its home in this region. In November of 2009, our state bird was removed from the endangered species list. 5 months later, the worst oil spill in history killed thousands of birds. And once again, the pelican persevered. Ownership's commitment to the revitalization of the pelican habitat was evident during this time, leading an effort to raise over $1.4 million for oil spill relief efforts. The health of the pelican's habitat and our coastal wetlands will be a cornerstone of the franchise's community efforts for years to come.
Pelicans are an extremely resilient bird. You know, in 1963, you could not find a pelican in the state of Louisiana. It's 50 years ago today. It's hard to imagine, and now we have probably 100,000 birds in the state.
The connections between the pelican and our region are endless. The name Pelican is familiar to Crescent City natives, as New Orleans' first professional sports franchise carried the Pelicans' name from the late 1880s into the 1950s. Shoeless Joe Jackson played on the 1910 team that won the Southern Association Championship.
The New Orleans Pelicans were a AA baseball team and the only pro franchise in town, so as a result, those players on those teams became our first heroes. We spent a lot of time there. It was like our home away from home.
The Pelican is a barometer of the health of our region, and the revitalization of this area is an amazing story that has only just begun. This represents so much more than just a name for a sports team.
Well, it's a symbol of the state. It's a symbol of our resolve, too, to come back. Gee, I mean, we've done it, you know. That's what's great, huh?
The red, gold, and blue of the Pelicans inspires the passion, the blue is loyalty, and the gold is the gleam of championships that we hope to bring to our state.
It really does make a great deal of sense when you consider the passion, the charm, this unique city, a great city, and it all falls into place. Along with the different logos and colors, we're going to be showing you that short video that we saw. We'll also be speaking with a number of people throughout the course of the afternoon, and then the media later will get an opportunity to visit with them as well. I'd like to now introduce our first speaker. Please welcome our team president, Dennis Lasha, who is going to give some additional information on our new name and also our new brand.
Thank you, Joel. It truly is an honor and a pleasure to be here today. And as was discussed in the video, from the very beginning, Mr. Benson felt very strongly about changing the team's logo and brand. In fact, he felt so strongly, the process of rebranding this team actually began before we bought the team. And as soon as we bought the team, part of buying the team, Mr. Benson talked to the commissioner and said, I know it's a 2-year process. I get that rebranding the team is a 2-year process in the NBA, but I'm not going to accept that. We have to do it. We want to rebrand our team, and the commissioner agreed to that. And what typically takes 2 years was squeezed into less than a year, and there was a lot of work that went into it. From the very beginning, Mr. Benson said that he wanted to find a name and brand the team with something that would reflect the city, the region, and its unique culture. The process included working, obviously, very closely with ownership, Rita, Mr. Benson, Mrs. Benson, our internal team, the NBA. There were a number of brand and logo consultants that were employed. We talked to merchandise manufacturers, obviously also talked to attorneys about trademarks and whatnot. And eventually the process moved to discussion with sponsors, community leaders, and ultimately fans as well. The process began with a simple question, and that question, as we said, is what are we trying to accomplish with regards to our branding, which was Mr. Benson's goal. As we move through the formal creative process, you have to know literally hundreds of different names and logos were considered, discussed, and debated. Through the process, over and over, one name continued to come to the top, and that name was the Pelicans. The Pelicans represent a lot, we believe. It represents a lot of the city. It reflects the city and a team from a tradition standpoint, passion, teamwork, resiliency, resourcefulness, loyalty, pride, precision, grace, family, dignity, grandeur, and charity. And I think that speaks well for our city, and that's going to speak well for our team as well. As you can see, these are our logos. The first logo that we see is our primary logo. The logo, the words were inspired by Bourbon Street signs, the French Quarter signs. That's where the logo, all of the words and letters were inspired. As we can see, at the top we have fleur-de-lis. That obviously has become so important to the city of New Orleans. We think it's important that this fleur-de-lis, which we believe has been a symbol of the heart of the city, is red and on our logo, because it is part of the heart of, we believe, of our symbolic of the heart of our city. We have obviously the pelican we discussed. We also have in the logo a crescent there. We all know about the Crescent City, and that was part of the logo design. And that's pretty much the primary logo. We have 3 other logos that we'll talk about. We have in the secondary logo, and this is the same logo without New Orleans on it. It's just the bird and the pelican. And then we have secondary logos. In the secondary logo, we have again, bird-de-lis, we're calling it. It's the fleur-de-lis with the bird. We have, again, the crescent, the red, passion. The next logo, Crescent City Basketball, is one of our second logos that you'll see on uniforms and the like. And lastly, our secondary logo is NOLA and NOLA Pelicans. So as we said, we saw the primary logo, and these are the 3 secondary logos. Our colors, blue, gold, and red. The blue, gold, and red, as many of you realize, is the same colors that we have in the city of New Orleans, the flag of the city of New Orleans. The blue, as discussed by Reed in the video, represents many things. It also represents the flag of the state of Louisiana, and it traditionally represents liberty, and as we said, you'll find the blue in the city's flag as well. Secondary, we have the gold. As we all know, we believe the gold represents the city very well. There's another professional team with gold, and it's a bit of a nod to it. The color is also found in crowns and nobility, and we think we have a special franchise here. And as Rita said so well in her remarks, it also represents the championships that we plan to bring to New Orleans. Lastly, we have red. Red signifies fraternity, one blood or union, and we believe that's important to our team. It also represents the legend of the mother pelican who pricks her breast to feed her children. Again, a sign of ability to endure. And we also, as Mr. Benson has pointed out so many times, if you look at the pelican, you also see the red on the pelican. It's also a powerful symbol on that bird for flash and intensity. So those are our colors, those are our logos, and we're very proud of them, and we think they represent the city very well. You will see over the next couple months, we will be rolling out the uniforms as well, and mascot and cheerleader uniforms as well, our dance team uniforms as well. And we'll be doing that over the course of the summer, and we're excited about that. The other thing that's very important for us is that, as referenced in the video, ownership is very committed to the health of our wetlands. That's nothing new. Going forward, the Pelicans brand will be the cornerstone of our community efforts, which will primarily focus on 2 things we believe that are fundamental challenges to the region: the health and fitness of our children, and the health and sustainability of our coastal wetlands. In many ways, these initiatives are what led us to selecting the Pelicans name. It also led us to a gentleman in the audience, Ron Foreman, and the Audubon Institute, to see how we can get involved in a truly meaningful way. That led us to many more conversations. We invited Ron into the process early to discuss the name and logo, to learn more about the bird, and learn more about the wetlands and the wetland initiatives. The conversation began by us explaining what we thought, the direction that we were going in. He politely listened for a while, and then he stopped us. And he said, "Gentlemen, I think you've landed on the best name that you could possibly land on for the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana." And he said, "Let me tell you why." And with that, I invite Ron Foreman up.
Everyone's in suspense now, waiting why. I'm going to tell you why. It was kind of fun. We all love to go to the football games, the basketball games, being a fan, enjoying what's going on. And very seldom do we get a chance to get in the inside of an organization. I was fortunate enough to get a chance to talk to Tom, to Rita, to Gail, to Dennis, and we were talking about the basketball team and talking about naming of the team. And the more we talked, we said there's a chance to do something much more than just winning basketball championships. That's pretty important, but we can do more. And Tom shared some stories. I remember fondly the stories, hurricane, the Superdome, building falling apart. You know, we're going to stay, or we're going to go. What can we do? Tom stood up and said, I have a vision. The NFL and the Saints are going to lead, not just winning football games, but lead the rebuilding of our city. That was 6-7 years ago. Look today, we have a Super Bowl next week. Look at what happened after the hurricane. Monday night football games, Thursday night football games, Sunday night football games, winning games, championships, Drew Brees, coaches standing up, owners standing up, everyone talking about the rebuilding of New Orleans. All the bad publicity, the PR, that was on TV day and night of people on rooftops, we couldn't buy that type of advertising to get our message across. The Saints led an effort by telling their story, and the PR we got out of that national, international, becoming America's team, overcame the negative. We became a city alive again, and became much more than a football team. It's a legacy that I think people will be talking about for years, the importance of sports and rebuilding a city after the disaster. The same conversation we talked about with the basketball team. And we talked about the naming of the team, and we started talking about different names. And Tom made it clear, I want to do more. We did it with football. What can we do with basketball? Think about it for a second. We are in one of the biggest crises in our history right now, losing the coast of Louisiana, losing the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. If we don't turn that around, the city we know today won't be the city for our grandkids, won't be a city for a lot of our kids. Completely changed. A big, big challenge. Its biggest recovery of the hurricane would be the recovery of our coast. I call Garrett Graves, who's the governor's right-hand man in charge of the entire coast. He works for the Gulf Coast of all the states, and sat down and talked to him and said, share with us about what can we do together. And he got excited saying, we're going to be spending billions of dollars, because we have to spend billions of dollars, but we also have to tell a story. We have to educate people to know what we're doing. You can't get public support for these type of programs without letting people know what the problem is and what the solution is. So working with Garrett, going back to the Hornets ownership, we began talking about the Pelicans. And what the Pelicans or the Hornets committed to is they're going to win championship basketball games, but they're going to be the leaders to rebuild our state, to rebuild our coast. And in doing that, we're committed to a strategic plan. It will be a 5 or 10-year plan on education for the messaging of how we're going to do wetland restoration. It'll be education, public relations, advertising, school programs, research programs. We can do it in a strategic plan with clear measurements each and every year. At the end of the day, we'll win our championship basketball games, but at the end of the day, much like the rebuilding of the city, Tom and his team will lead the rebuilding through education of our entire coast. It's a big deal to name, much more than the name of a basketball team. So that's the question mark that we wanted to answer. We're excited about the future. Garrett's here later with the press to answer any questions. We will come up with the plan. We'll share with the media. And at the end of the day, if we can look back much like 7 years after the hurricane, 10 years from now and say the coast of Louisiana has been saved, we've accomplished our objective. Thank you very much. Let me now, speaking of dreamers and making things happen, I get a chance to introduce the mayor of New Orleans. And obviously, to this group, I don't have to introduce him, but I will say that there is a clear plan led by the mayor that from the destruction of the hurricane to the tricentennial celebration, which will take place in 2018, will be the biggest urban renewal ever in this country. And it's going to be led by the mayor that was picked by Newsweek as one of the top 5 mayors in the country. Should have been the top mayor, Mayor Michelle Andrew.
Thank you, Ron. Right. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here for so many different reasons. Thank you so much for inviting me, to the Bensons, to Rita, Mickey, the coaches, the team, all of the dignitaries here, my partner Jackie Clarkson on the City Council, and all of you that are here. When I was a little kid, I watched the Buccaneers play in the Loyola Fieldhouse, for those of you that are young enough to remember that. And I lived through watching Pete Maravich and the Jazz name go to Utah, where it does not belong. And then, of course, all of us were here when we adopted the Hornets to our fair city. And one of the things we all wanted to do, just on the sports side, was to make sure that this team stayed here forever, that we had a local ownership, and that we had something that was our own. And so now this comes to a fully mature product where we have our name that reflects so importantly the values of the state of Louisiana. I think Dennis read through a long list of great attributes and virtues and characterizations of the Pelican. Somebody that takes care of its young, somebody that's loving and caring but's fierce, and then an entity that is resilient. Now, there's no better American character that Louisianians represent than resilience and coming back from near extinction. The Saints will proof positive of how you can be bad and then how you can continue to suffer through great tragedies, and then you can come back and then you can actually be the best. And so this name is a name that represents the best, not only that Louisiana has to offer, but the attributes that we as New Orleanians, Louisianans, actually portray to the rest of the country as they come here this week and see something that they did not imagine. 7 years ago, we were 15 feet underwater, and we were on the bottom of every list that mattered. And this week, we're on the top of the world, hosting the largest event that the world has seen in a long time. It's exponentially bigger than what we did in 2002. And they're witnessing a city that has, in partnership with the Saints and the Hornets, completely recreated itself just based on the power of resilience. And this name reflects that willpower and that resilience. So let me just say it pretty simply. I'm pumped up about the Pelicans. And thank you, Rita. You got that, huh? Let me try that again. I'm pumped up about the Pelican. And of course, none of this would have been positive or possible without Mr. Benson. And as Ron said, the magic to this is that a Super Bowl is not just an end in and of itself. Having a franchise on the football side or the basketball side is not just an end in and of itself, it's how you use it. And the magic about the Bensons is they have used this as a means to do what? To make New Orleans and Louisiana a great place for all of us to live. It's about jobs, it's about community. And if you use what you have for the benefit of others, you can just grow so much greater and so much faster. And that wouldn't be possible without the vision of the Benson and their entire family. And so with that, please help me welcome the Papa Pelican, the big daddy Pelican of them all, Mr. Tom Benson.